Hello everyone, my name is Kyle Borowski and this is my screencast assignment, and I'm going to be answering the question, why were the Romans increasingly unable to resist the penetration of the empire by the barbarian people? And I've titled this A Weakening People because that is exactly what the Romans were. They were a weakening people and collapsing utterly from the inside. So I just wanted to start off with giving a little bit about my opinion. I don't believe that there are many empires we are capable of thinking about that was as great as this empire, Rome. But with the increasingly shifting nature within humans, we are bound to shift to our demise in one way or another as a collective whole. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but real. Look at all of the empires throughout history. Though many legacies stand, their rule does not. Though many of our expansions have come from their ideologies, we are using the ideologies of a fallen people. So I mention these things because though once vastly great and unconquerable, weakness had set into the gates of Rome and enemy penetration then became possible. If you can't beat them, join them from the inside. And so I gave this slide this title because I don't believe that any great empire was ever defeated from the outside by force. Yes, it may have had that appearance that an outside force was the cause of their fall, but in reality, I don't believe it was. I think the integral structure of the empire must be destroyed from the inside before they can be destroyed from the outside. And so one of the causes for the barbarian people able to penetrate Rome, I believe, was an unwilling army on Rome's behalf. Rome used to have an honorable army, the army actually at one point being that which helped govern Rome as an institute of government under Augustus Caesar. So we see the army was held in high esteem at one point, and it was something of a high honor to actually be a part of this army. But at this point, it was not so. It actually had become just about the exact opposite. It says, but now this army was weak, with more and more Italian soldiers unwilling to fight. And in my opinion, it was because they were losing respect for the empire because of its weakening integrity. So indeed, the generals had no other choice to bring the barbarian people into the army of Rome out of desperation. And you know what happens in desperation in so much of human nature. They're willing to do just about anything to escape the circumstance that they're in. And so when a people becomes desperate for any resource or necessity, then they'll become pliable for outside sources to maneuver through the empire, which is going to ultimately be very dangerous for the empire itself. All right, and another cause that I believe that led to the penetration of the barbarian forces was the foreign leaders that they allowed to come into the empire. And so they weren't just allowed to simply join the army, these barbarian folk, but they were also able to move up into the ranks. And so the barbarian people were not just now joining the army of Rome, but they were now climbing to higher ranks of leadership. Not just high ranks, but eventually a Gothic emperor was named. And so a cruel turn of events is when in 376, a group called the Visigoths were in a desperate situation and asked the emperor of Rome to bring them into the empire. The emperor did, but after an event of unfortunate crop failures led to Roman leaders to turn sour in their characters when they forced the Visigoths people into slavery, taking advantage of their hunger. As we have seen before, cruelty is never something that goes well with any people. The Visigoths eventually rebelled, joining forces which defeated the Roman army. And so I titled this last slide "A Foreign Domination," and so ultimately the fall of Rome was at hand. There was no denying it. There comes a point to where there's no reversing the damage that has been done to an empire, and its fall is inevitable at that point. With foreign barbarian leaders rampant within the walls of the city, and the emperor destroyed by the Visigoths, there was only one thing left to happen: the sacking of Rome. This happened in 455, and now Italy itself had become a barbarian state, and thus Rome was no more. The great and mighty empire had now come to ruins, and so this just shows that people did not believe that Rome was capable of falling at one point, and surely it did. And I don't believe any empire is above that point of falling. I think we need to learn from history, and we can surely learn a lot from the things we read in history today. Thank you so much. Goodbye.